This is Snoozing with Brad.
All right, so the impeachment is going to be starting Tuesday, the day after the official celebration of Martin Luther King's birthday, although we do know that Martin Luther King was already born a few days ago, 2 days ago, on the 15th.
Yes.
We're celebrating it on Monday, I guess that would be the 20th, what is Monday the 20th, and the impeachment will start on Tuesday the 21st.
Monday is the 20th.
Okay, Donald Trump has announced his dream team to defend him in the impeachment. It includes Jay Sekulow, who was his lawyer the whole time, the White House counsel Pat Cipollone, Alan Dershowitz from O.J. Simpson fame will be coming in to discuss the constitutional issues involving whether or not Trump should even be impeached, and Ken Starr. And Ken Starr, he was famous for being the prosecutor that prosecuted Bill Clinton in his impeachment.
Wow.
So that is...
What a lineup.
Yeah, that is the lineup for Donald Trump in his defense.
Do you feel like any of his lawyers actually believe him, or like...
I think...
or they're just doing it for money or their own gain?
I personally think that he's hoodwinked so many people. My personal opinion is that he's an evil man, and that people who are following him, not necessarily evil people, but when you're talking about, threatening to bomb Iranian cultural buildings that have been standing for 2,000-3,000 years, and then the government says, Trump, you can't do that. That's a war crime. And he says, who decided that it would be a war crime? The United States. Okay, the United States fought for that so that we would not be bombing. That's what ISIS does.
Right.
When he pardons somebody who in Afghanistan under military tribunal was stripped of his rights as a person in the army and was dishonorably discharged for murdering people, innocent people, and witnesses watched it, and Trump abdicates him from doing that, exonerates him from doing that, on top of what the generals wanted, and then honors him at Mar-a-Lago. That's an evil person.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the things he just did recently. Okay, having LevParnas investigate the ambassador to the Ukraine and follow her around as if they were going to kidnap her or kill her.
Yeah.
It's an evil person. It's not a politician now.
Right.
It's one thing to be a politician and to be like the dirty trickster.
Be a little shady.
Be a little shady. Every politician's shady.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, because if you're going to be an honest politician, you're not going to get too far in life. All right? You're probably not going to win that many elections. All right?
That's a fact.
It's a fact. Politicians lie all the time.
Right.
But this guy has brought lying and evilness to a whole nother
Yeah.
level that nobody ever really thought about before. So now Donald Trump, he's actually the third person to be impeached. President Johnson, who was the president after Abraham Lincoln,
Yep.
Bill Clinton, and now Donald John Trump. We just learned that yesterday.
Definitely did not know.
Yes, we definitely did not know that either. We learned that yesterday.
He's a
now
John.
everybody says, what about Richard Nixon? He was never impeached.
No,
Before he got impeached, he resigned.
Before.
Yeah.
He was a smart one.
Yes. So now LevParnas, right, talking about Broadway, right? He looks like he's right out of that musical, The Producers.
The Producers.
Okay. Now he said he's going now against Donald Trump because he's scared. He says he's now afraid of the Justice Department, the Attorney General Barr, than any criminal that is out there right now. He said on RachelMaddow last night, that's the tool they're using. They're trying to scare me into not talking. I regret certain things that I did. Trump is a cult leader. It was like being in a cult. I don't think Trump is organized crime. I think it's like a cult leader. He added the difference between why Trump is so powerful now and he wasn't as powerful in 2016. He says it's William Barr because the Attorney General is protecting him. Parnas also analyzed all the evidence, sitting back, and he understood that Vice President Biden did nothing wrong. He says, I think Biden was protecting our country and getting rid of probably a crooked attorney. Parnas has bounced between media outlets this week, making a series of bombshell claims. He wants to come testify at the Senate trial, What's interesting is that here's a guy with first-hand knowledge, and nobody's calling him. And the reason they're calling him, because Trump always goes back to the same defense all the time. He seems to hire crooked people.
Yeah.
Okay? And then when they get caught, crooks get caught being crooked, he says, this guy's a fraud. He's a crook. You can't trust what he says. He did that with now LevParnas. He did it with Michael Cohen. He said, Michael Cohen's a convicted fraud.
Right.
Why would you trust him? Well, Michael Cohen was committing fraud on your behalf, Donald Trump.
Sure, when it's convenient.
Exactly. He was committing fraud for Donald Trump because Donald Trump asked him to pay off Stormy Daniels. LevParnas was following the ambassador to Ukraine because Donald Trump asked him to do it.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. Donald Trump would not last a second in the hood because he is doing some snake and shady stuff. Like, man, that guy, and I don't understand how he just keeps on getting away with it.
Well, according to LevParnas, he says he believes that many of the Republican lawmakers are just afraid of Trump or afraid of an investigation by the Justice Department that's run by Attorney General Barr. That basically they're scaring everybody into staying in line. He says, and I'm quoting, I mean, a lot of people are scared. They don't want to get investigated. Republicans in the Senate are still divided on whether to allow witnesses to be called. We'll see if this guy gets called. Parnas then went on AndersonCooper after RachelMaddow. He's been making the rounds.
Oh, he's making his rounds.
Yeah, he said, I should be their number one witness. I'm the one that got all the dirt, supposedly. Why aren't they calling me to testify? Why do they need Joe Biden to testify? Call me.
Right. So, I mean, the prosecutors can't call him?
Well, it's by Senate vote. So right now, there are 52 Republicans or 53 Republicans and 47 Democrats. So you need 4 Republicans to cross over, and so we'll see what happens. There's a lot of Republicans who would probably want to hear the witnesses, and they're caught between being investigated by the Justice Department if they go against Trump, versus it's like almost like versus satisfying their own constituency. And also satisfying their obligations to the Constitution of the United States of America.
So why can't it be like anonymous, like them?
But that's not the way it was set up. Right. If it was anonymous, Trump would be impeached.
That's what I'm saying. So why can't
if it was anonymous, Trump would be impeached.
How long will this trial go for, you think?
Well, it depends. This is the first trial where there's still investigation going on.
Right.
This is really the Republicans' contention. They're saying, you're saying this is very serious stuff, and you're bringing this to the Senate, and meanwhile more and more evidence keeps coming out. Why is this race to get Trump out so fast? Obviously, it's political. That's what they're instead of doing a thorough investigation. The Democrats, from their point of view, says, well, Trump's obstructing any of the witnesses from coming forward.
Right.
So now we have to go to court. That court. Going through the appeals process could take 2-3 years. Trump will be the president for 3-4 more years before we get to the bottom of all of this. So we just got to go with what we got. And that was the decision that they made. So, we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, when the Iranians sent the missiles off to the U.S. bases in Iraq, and he tweeted, all's okay, nobody's hurt, and I'm paraphrasing. Turns out he was not necessarily saying the truth.
I had it when we first mentioned that news the other day. I was like, okay, I can't wait until we get a little more insight on this because there's no way.
Yeah. Well, 11 service members were treated for concussion symptoms after the Iranian missiles hit the air base in Iraq. 11 American troops were treated for concussions, brain injuries after the Iranian missile struck 2 Iraqi bases where the service members were stationed. Now, we had service members who came back from Afghanistan with head injuries, and they had tremendous post-traumatic stress disorder. Right. We interviewed 2 of them on Bradshaw Live. They ended up in a life of crime, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, doing dumb things, and then ended up getting deported after they were serving.
Oh, wow. All
because of head injuries.
Right. Yeah.
And now we have 11 more members. I hope that they're being treated better now than they were based on what we heard when people were coming back from Afghanistan. A spokesman for the United States Central Command said while no U.S. service members were killed in the Iranian attack, several were treated for concussion symptoms from the blast, and they're still being assessed. This is what Trump said right after. He said, "I'm pleased to inform you that the American people should be extremely grateful and happy. No Americans were harmed in last night's attack." Not true.
Gratitude.
Not true.
All right, Donald.
Meanwhile, did you hear about the Delta flight that dumped the gasoline over the kids?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, isn't that terrible? Yeah.
Yeah.
A Delta pilot bombarded an elementary school playground with jet fuel before making an emergency landing at Los Angeles International Airport.
Oh, wow.
They failed to notify traffic control of the need to get rid of the fuel and did not dump it at an optimal altitude. This is what the FAA says. Pilots, now, what happened was there was a malfunction in the plane. Plane had to land. This plane was on its way to Asia, I think Singapore.
Okay.
And it has a full gas tank. You can't land a plane of that size, a big jumbo jet of that size with a big gas tank, because sparks could light the gas tank on fire and blow the plane up. So every time, you always see when there's a plane emergency, they have to dump the fuel first before you land to avoid having a spark and blowing the plane up, because you can't land it with a full tank of gas. Now, obviously, there was an emergency. The pilots panicked, I would guess, and said, "F it, we got to dump this fuel and get on the ground," and didn't even look, didn't even look to see where they were dumping it, and dumped it on an elementary school playground while the kids were out there playing. All the kids got bombed with jet fuel.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's insane.
So the FAA says they're continuing to investigate the circumstances behind this incident. Now,
Right.
Delta made national news Tuesday. Okay, so that's what we just talked about. The Los Angeles County fire officials said scores of people on the ground, including students at multiple elementary schools, were treated for eye and skin irritation. Decontamination stations were set up.
Wow.
No injuries required hospitalization. But you want to know what? You don't know what ultimately is going to happen in 1 year, 2 years, long term, to children who are growing, whose genetic makeup is changing, to get dumped with jet fuel.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would be scared for my child if that happened.
Absolutely.
It's finally raining in Australia, which is really nice. I was glad to see that. They got 3 inches of rain overnight. It's the first significant rain in months.
Wow.
Yeah, so they helped. Now, these downpours have helped extinguish 32 bushfires in New South Wales.
Oh, good.
They still have about 120 still burning. Over the weekend, the Bureau of Meteorology expects another 1 to 3 inches of rain. Hopefully, that will put out some more of the fires. So hopefully, this will be the beginning of the rain season for Australia.
Nice.
The firefighters are exhausted. They can't battle it. They're losing. It doesn't matter how many firefighters you stick out there. It doesn't matter how many fire hoses you stick out there. They're losing.
Yeah.
And until Mother Nature puts out the fires, there's a problem there.
They need it the most right now.
Now, the rain helped clear the bushfire smoke blanketing the Australian capital on Wednesday. The smoke was so thick it caused the closure of an airplane runway at the Melbourne airport. They couldn't land planes there. You can imagine living in a city filled with smoke from fire, and it's so thick that even with advanced radar on an airplane, because think about pilots land in snow and rain and fog
and hail.
And hail. That was such thick smoke you probably couldn't breathe it.
Yeah.
God knows what you're breathing in your air. God knows how many people are going to die early of all sorts of lung disease as a result of breathing all of this.
I know, living, being from California, we had brush fires that were pretty big as well, and it literally looks like the end of the world. The whole sky is red. The sun is just like a big red circle. You could look straight at it. It looks scary, and it will last for a couple of days, but the fact that this has been lasting for months, I couldn't even imagine that.
Well, it says here that the Australians are finally jumping for joy because they couldn't handle living like this anymore. The national death toll from bushfires is 28 people have died since January 15th.
Wow.
Over 46 million acres of property has been destroyed by fire. Over 1 billion animals have died. And many animals and species never to be seen on this earth again. Wiped out entire species of animals, because Australia is very special in the sense that they have animals and species and plants on Australia that don't exist anywhere else in the world. Now they say that dark smoke from Australia is now starting to circle the Earth. That's how bad it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, NASA reported that the unprecedented masses of smoke created by bushfires in Australia returned to their continent of origin after drifting across the Pacific Ocean and circumnavigating the globe.
Yikes.
And the Google Earth images from the agency show the trail of brown smoke as it made its way around the world. Fire-induced thunderstorms provided a pathway for the smoke to enter the stratosphere, traveling thousands of miles from Australia and affecting atmospheric conditions on a global scale. Believe that?
Mother Nature is not playing games.
Yeah.
She's upset.
Now, we have never had, maybe in California, but never a continent. I mean, Australia is a continent that was on fire.
Yeah.
We've had states and sections of states on fire. We've never had North America on fire.
On fire.
Okay. So, and in the USA, about 20,000 people die prematurely every year because of chronic wildfire smoke exposure.
Wow.
Yeah. Now that's likely to double by the end of the century. So you can only imagine what the population of Australia is going to happen to the population of Australia as a result of not only these bushfires from this year, but the ones that are come next year and the year after and the year after. We might as well talk about this since we're talking about it anyway.
Yeah.
What's up?
The world's carbon emissions grew to 2019 to the highest levels ever. So anybody who says that we don't have an environmental issue, a global warming issue, it's just not true. The facts speak for themselves.
It's happening right before
our eyes. And the fires in Australia is a prime example. The amount of carbon dioxide released by burning fossil fuels, gasoline, oil, is projected to hit 37 billion tons. For all of the conservation that the world is doing, we have polluted the atmosphere more this year than in any other year in the history of the world since Adam and Eve.
Wow.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
The last time carbon dioxide levels were this high? Never.
Wow.
Yes. That means the entire world's civilization carbon emissions are going up, just like the Earth's temperature, just like the Earth's sea level, and just like the rate of ice melting in Greenland, Antarctica, and the Arctic Ocean.
It's warm.
So, and now, USA Today listed the top 5 countries doing the most for climate change. I am sad to say that the United States is not on that list.
Yep.
Number 1 on that list is Denmark, followed by Finland, Norway, New Zealand, and sadly, Australia, which is shocking to me because the Prime Minister of Australia, Morrison, it was an anti-environmentalist. But that's according to USA Today. Meanwhile, did you hear about this fat cat?
No.
Bazooka?
No.
No.
Yeah, well, there's a cat, and he has a weight problem. He's a 35-pound, there he is, a 35-pound orange tabby cat. He's appropriately named Bazooka. He arrived with a lot of pomp and circumstance at a North Carolina shelter this week in preparation to begin his epic weight loss journey.
Have a neck.
Yes, Bazooka. They're putting Bazooka on a diet.
Oh wow.
Yes.
What's he eat?
I don't know what he eats. When he arrived at the Wake County Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, he needed 2 people to carry him in.
Wow.
His foster mother, Michelle Barry of Raleigh, sat patiently in the lobby Wednesday afternoon while Bazooka laid there for photo shoots and interviews in a nearby room. Now, I don't know how you interview Bazooka the cat, but apparently people were coming in to interview him.
Things to say.
So what I've decided to do, because I got to lose some weight myself. Remember we did the Brad weight challenge and I didn't do it?
Yeah. Look.
There it was. Yep, there I am. Remember that? That was me with the Brad weight challenge last year. It didn't really work out very well. So now I have been challenged by the entire crew. Who's going to lose more weight, me or Bazooka the cat? Right now,
I believe in you, Brad.
Right now, I want you to know all the money coming in is coming in on Bazooka.
Yeah.
All the money's coming in on Bazooka. There's not much money coming in on his bet for Brad.
On Brad's defense, yesterday we ended the show and he's like, I think I'm going to walk home. We all looked at Brad and said, it's cold outside. He said, I guess I won't walk home.
That's right. I ended up taking a taxi.
There you go.
Right.
I bet you Bazooka would have walked.
That's right. Bazooka would have rolled home, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, and finally, you heard of you know who the SaltBae guy is, right?
Yes.
Of course.
Right? Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
He does.
at
He
the
does the.
SaltBae.
Have you
Look.
been there?
No, the restaurant.
have.
Yes.
I heard is he treating the crew?
No.
When we win our Emmy Award.
Yes, that's what he said.
Right. When we win our Emmy Award, I'm treating the crew, the entire crew, at SaltBae. But one thing I will not treat them to is the gold-plated steak.
Oh, God.
Yes.
he
Now,
did?
yeah, customer at the SaltBae in Miami. His name is Dwayne Miranda. He was stunned after he ordered the gold-plated steak, and at the end of his party, he got a bill for $5,000 for the steak. Yes. Now, SaltBae, it's called Nasser Et. It's known for, the guy's from Turkey.
Yeah.
And it's known for its signature tomahawk steaks in which the meat is cut table side. The restaurant owner performs the task himself on nights that he's in town. And the restaurant owner, his name is Nurset Gokshi, but he was earned the nickname SaltBae because he does the special thing with the salt.
Seasoning.
Right. Now, the gimmick has made him a big social media hit. A lot of people go there. But this Florida man, Dwayne Miranda, visited the Miami location fully aware that dinner was going to cost a lot of money. There he is. In fact, in speaking to the Miami Herald, Miranda stressed that he's no stranger to a $1,000 meal. Mm-hmm. He knew what he was getting into. But when the check arrived, Miranda was shocked to see that he had been charged $2,000 for two 24-karat gold-coated, highly marbled Wagyu tomahawk ribeyes, and another $1,000 for a rack of lamb, which was also covered in gold. Now, he did indeed order two tomahawk ribeyes, he claims, and he did indeed order the rack of lamb, but he ordered the economy version for $200, not the gold-plated one.
Oh, so that's their
for
fault.
$2,000. He told the Herald that when he received the gold entrees, he thought the embellishment was simply part of a standard presentation. He didn't realize that this was the $2,000 gold
Not the
one.
basic steak.
Yeah. So when the bill arrived, Miranda figured out what had happened, and he was pissed off.
The house special.
Yeah, he disputed the bill. He declared his group would leave until the golden upcharge would not leave until the bill was changed. The restaurant called the police on him.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So after an hour with the police, Miranda and his 5 companions agreed to pay the bill, though he disclosed on Yelp that he asked American Express to dispute the charge. In his Yelp review, in which he refers to the SaltBae as a communist-loving piece of crap,
Wow.
Miranda says he believed the waiter was trying to take advantage of the situation, and apparently Nasser at Miami have contacted law enforcement 11 other times over billing disputes since it opened less than 2 years ago.
They're going to have to communicate their prices.
Yes. Now, I will say,
Those are those restaurants
I have
where
eaten
you
there.
don't
It is the
have
best steak I
prices.
ever ate in my life. Now, I never eat the gold one. I ate the economy one.
Right.
But it is the best steak I ever ate in my life. And I'll tell you one other quick story about gold-plated food. When I was in Dubai several years ago, I was with my ex-girlfriend. We went into a hotel, and she said, "Oh, look at this on the menu. You can get a gold-plated, gold-covered cappuccino." And I said, "Don't you order that gold-covered cappuccino." True story. I said, "I'm not paying $500 or $1,000 for no gold-plated cappuccino. What are you, out of your mind?" And she goes, "No, it's not $500." I said, "Absolutely. It's going to charge you like $500, $1,000. I said, "I will be so angry at you if you order the gold-plated cappuccino."
How much was it?
So I have a whole fight with her. We're like ready to like strangle each other across the table over the stupid gold. I was like, "I'm absolutely not paying for it." I said, "You're on your own. Goodbye. You pay for it yourself." So she's like, "Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be $500. So then we finally asked the waiter, and in Dubai, the gold-plated cappuccino is $11.95. It's true story.
I'll take the cappuccino.
So we both ordered it. So then I'm like, for $11.95, I want to have the gold-plated cappuccino too.
Right.
I'll take 2.
And I'm going to tell you something. You don't taste the gold. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.